and welcome to Here and Now. Today marks the final appearance of EastEnders' lovable wide boy, Vince Johnson. So where next for actor Hepburn Graham? Find out later in the programme. And we shall have jazz piano from Ira Jackson. But we begin with Roy, a powerful new production by Big Brum, the theatre and education company, who've built up a fine reputation for their work in schools and colleges. Roy is a provocative play, part truth, part fiction. It centres on Roy and Gregory, two young black men with an eerie bond. Roy was hanged in 1962 for murder, and his story holds an obsessive fascination for Gregory, living in modern-day Birmingham. The murder really happened, and writer Peter Wynne-Willson has produced a play which is frighteningly relevant. Vera Gilbert went to see Roy being performed at Parkview School in Ward End, Birmingham.
What have we here, then? What the bloody hell's the matter with you, son? Have you been drinking, have you? Come on, speak up. You speak English, do you? Here!
First and foremost, we decided we wanted to do a play about capital punishment, actually. That was an issue we decided we wanted to look at. It was quite obvious, we went to the library, looked up Birmingham stories to do the death penalty, and the first thing we looked at was who was the last person hanged in this city, and we came straight on this story. It was quite difficult to find out much from the newspapers, but once we had found out that he was 19, that it was very local to us in Cannon Hill Road that he lived, and the fact that he was from Jamaica, it meant there were all kinds of things immediately that made one feel it had lots of issues in it. We decided to do it very indirectly, first of all. There's obviously a great responsibility involved, particularly as we're working in schools. It's important that we don't glorify a murder. It's important that we don't our intention is not to upset anybody, and there are people alive to whom this whole case is very close. So the play takes an indirect approach. Everything is seen through the eyes of a fictitious modern character, Greg. It sounds like a heavy play. There's some very heavy issues in it, but it's very important that there are also elements of humour in the play. I
used to live round here, somewhere down there, Nechel's Green.
No, it isn't.
Oh. Hey, what's the scaffolding for?
She's a young woman who's, from Birmingham, but from Irish parents. The way I see her is that she's from a working class background, but she chooses to reject that. She's trying very much to reject her background. She's trying very much to become a middle class person, I think.
The redevelopment that was going on then is the redevelopment that we've been suffering from since. And to me, the similarity between the 2 years is really striking. The block that Gregory lives in Nechel's is being knocked down this year. It was built in 1962. So much change was going on, the great new future of Birmingham.
And the two men that do the cutting and the digging and the wheelbarrowing.
We wanted to have a fictitious story and a fictitious character that who is examining, who's finding out about 1962. He should have something in common with this man who he knew quite a lot about, who'd come to this country, been fairly badly treated here, with housing, with not being able to get a job. We wanted somebody who shared that sense of rootlessness, and to look at somebody who was adopted by a liberal white couple, and that's the situation in the play.
I've got a picture in here of a room. Oh, it's nothing to do with my blood parents. I've always assumed it was a room in the home, Dr. Bernardo's. But I was only a few months old when they took me, so God knows if it's a real memory. It's a big, wood-walled room with dusty, pink, heavy curtains at one end. That's it. That's what I know, so that's where I'm from.
Well, nobody remembers being born, do they? Hey, in some ways it must be really good. At least you know you were wanted, don't you? Singled out and specially chosen kind of thing.
Yes, but everybody knows. That is the thing. Everybody knows something about me. Or at least they think they do. I used to have to explain my life story several times a day. Or my mother did. Even if it was right to ignore them, you couldn't. Because everywhere when I was out with her, you could see their little brains clicking round. Perhaps she's some kind of social worker or a special teacher and she's looking after him. Or she's some kind of juvenile probation officer. And he's a troubled child of some kind who needs constant supervision. No, he is the son of the king of some African country. And she is just one of the team of paid nannies looking after him. He's too black to be Afkas. Wait a minute, adopted. Yes, of course. I wonder why they chose him. We're talking about an audience which grew up on television, and so they do go for the dramatic things. You know, they like the fact that there's powerful images like the news and the things about hanging. They like to see that kind of thing. They like to see all the shouting and arguments maybe that might happen. And I think there's a few of them who like to see the relationships because a lot of people, young people today, like to see things about romance, and so they latch onto that. And I think there's a lot of things for young people to actually get into with this play.
Stepmother. His stepmother. I spoke to quite a lot of people. The community at large, it was very notable how few people remembered the hanging. Quite a few people in the area of Lee Bank and Edgbaston remembered the murder, and they might go as far as to say, well, it was a colour chap that did it. But that would be the end of their memory of the case. There was no organised protest among the black community. There was no anger expressed in that way. There were certainly people who were upset. There were people in the black community who felt it was quite right for him to be hanged. There were people who felt it wasn't.
There is only
Members
one
of the
verdict
jury.
here. Members
The
of the
evidence
jury.
which I have
You can
endeavoured
return
to
on this
outline
evidence.
to you.
Consider
I hope
it
I've not
and
too
consider
great
it all.
length. Is most
You must regard all the
cogent
evidence.
and compelling
Every word.
evidence,
I hope you
and must
will.
compel you to
When
the
you
conclusion,
do, you will come to the conclusion.
however unwelcome it may be,
that this
man is
not
indeed
guilty.
guilty.
Members of the jury, are you all agreed upon your verdict?
We are.
Do you find the prisoner, Oswald Augustus Gray, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You find him guilty. Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Prisoner at the bar, you stand convicted of capital murder. Do you have anything to say why the sentence of this court should not be passed upon you?
Noor. Oswald Augustus Gray, the sentence of this court is that you shall suffer death in the manner authorized by the law. May the Lord have mercy on your soul.
The powerful story of Roy. Big Brum can be seen at the Stockland Green Centre, Birmingham, this Thursday, and all over the Midlands until May, when they will be at the Midlands Arts Centre for a week's run.